Good afternoon, good morning, welcome to episode 70 of the Leading IT podcast, and today we're talking about Broadcom and VMware options. So with Broadcom acquiring VMware last year, they've been changing a lot of things, so today we're going to talk about the options out there, what's happening in the market, and we've invited Empyrean IT Cloud and Infrastructure Director Andrew Petrie to join us. If you're new to the podcast, this podcast is for Australian IT leaders who are looking to stay up to date with the latest IT news and trends across AI, cybersecurity, power platform, cloud and infrastructure, strategy and leadership. Your hosts are leading CIO Tom Layden and myself, Josh Rubens, CEO at consulting firm Empyrean IT. So welcome, Andrew, and g'day, Tom. How is everyone?
G'day, Josh.
Thanks,
Good.
Josh.
Yeah.
How are you finding our cold Melbourne winter weather?
Well, you can see the background behind me is actually not too bad for now. But mate,
it
it's
looks
stuck
nice, but it's still cold.
It's
Yes.
cold. But it's all right. It's quarter season. It's okay.
Yeah, good to hear. And Andrew, do you want to maybe give the listeners a bit of a background on yourself?
Sure. I've been working in the infrastructure space, virtualization, storage, and networking for 15 to 20 years, pretty much since the infancy of virtualization. And I've been working with Josh for a big chunk of that now.
I can attest to that. I remember, Andrew, when we did our first VMware installation. Was it 2004 or 5? Now, I don't want to date you, Andrew, but that was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was going back a ways, Tom.
But it solved a big problem at the time, right? And
It did, yeah.
It still continues to solve a big problem. So we should get into that in a second. But Josh, what's the news, mate? What's going on?
All right, so I've got relevant to today. So about the Broadcom's financials that came out last week.
Yes, saw this.
So the highlights was that Broadcom rakes in VMware cash. So
Ouch.
yeah, so it seems like the decision to swallow VMware and do its best to infuriate its suppliers and customers seems to have paid off, with Broadcom posting $15 billion in second quarter revenue, up 20% from last year. Wow. So there was a few points on that I thought were interesting. Net income has doubled to $4.95 billion. Most of that coming from their infrastructure software division, which is mostly VMware.
Yeah.
So their net profit has gone up a huge amount. So I think it was nearly like 70. Yeah, operating margins are 76%.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. They are strangling the golden goose, though, aren't they?
They
Talk
are.
about this in more detail. We'll talk about this in more detail shortly.
So I'll just to annoy everyone. So Hock Tan, the CEO of Broadcom, is saying that 87% of VMware's top 10,000 customers have signed up for the full fat VMware Cloud Foundation bundle. So, and seems to be paying off. So that was my first bit of news, Tom.
Yeah, look, I'm going to change the subject, talk about AR. So there was a big AFR AI conference last week in Sydney. We saw that, Josh, where it wasn't a tech conference. It was a bunch of CEOs all rocked up and got together and basically boasted about how much AI they were doing amongst each other. Some of the stories were really, really interesting. Others were like, that's not AI, that's just IT. What are you guys doing? You're just painting it up here as AI. But I mean, I guess the mood of the conference was incredibly positive and very bullish on how important AI is to every single business. And so the fact that it's coming from the top end of town is obviously huge. There's an enormous amount of hype, though. And I think people listening to this podcast probably have to deliver to that hype, unfortunately. So I think there's going to be some expectation settings, if not going on already. But yeah, look, it was really interesting. The concept that AI will take over the world has come down a bit. I think sort of the general message was it's out there, it's real, you should be doing it now, but it's going to take 3 to 5 years. It's my kind of key takeaway from the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I'll counter that one and raise you 50. So this was in the article. This was in I think the Age yesterday or the day before, where the Treasurer of Victoria, Jacqueline Symes,
Yes.
saying that artificial intelligence and automation will be the cornerstone of Victorian government's $3.3 billion cost slashing plan. So freeing up public servants from repetitive and time consuming tasks. Yeah.
Right. Look, obviously there's a lot of opportunity to deliver efficiency in that beast, right? So no one disagrees with that. What I'm worried about, Josh, and I think you'd agree with me, is the state government able to execute on that ambition?
Yes.
I think I can already see the headlines in 3 years' time. You know what? 3.5 billion blown out to X.
Well,
not delivering.
They're representing that as the cost savings. So they're talking about creating a more efficient public service. And when asked about would that mean losing jobs, she said she probably wouldn't characterise it like that. We're not replacing humans with robots. We're certainly looking at efficiencies with technologies. So it's pretty big if that's coming from the Treasurer. So that's not an IT company. Now, and there were examples given of state government departments already using AI. So I'll just go through those quickly. The State Revenue Office already uses AI to detect unpaid taxes and fraud. What else we've got? There's some the TAFE plan for automatic recognition of prior learning for TAFE students. Some councils are using AI for after-hours support. So, and there were more, and the SRO also uses it, or intends to chase up unpaid taxes and detect fraud by identifying patterns or anomalies in data. So it was more than just a promise; they were actually
doing stuff. They're doing stuff.
Yeah.
At the edge, and I'm sure that'll ramp up. I spoke to someone in that space recently, and they were saying that it's not about staff replacement, but it's actually about when people retire, not replacing those jobs. So they're kind of really keen to go on about that. It's like we're not going to massive whole-scale redundancies. We're just creating a more optimized workforce as the aging population starts to kick in. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's interesting.
Said Pinocchio as his nose grew.
Possibly.
It's coming.
I'm not quoting my source. Put it that way.
No, it's coming. That lower end of work is going. But as I said before, these are societal issues of problems of people, with bigger pay packets than us. And our role as technologists is to embrace and help our companies and our customers to really stay ahead of their competition and thrive.
Yeah.
So I think that's our role, and then how society manages that change from I saw an article saying that they were predicting 20% unemployment in the US because of AI. So how that's solved is for people with on the higher pay grade than us. But as technologists, I think we just need to embrace it and do it in a ethical and trustworthy way, right? I think that's.
But also know that it will be solved. Like this change happens all the time. When the printing press came in, there were riots in England, right? Going back into the Industrial Revolution, people thought they were going to lose jobs. Jobs change. That's what happens. And quality of life improves as well, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking in UAE about 4-day work weeks. They were talking about, that there's been a lot of things have been discussed. But as I said, that, I feel like our role as technologists is not to be embarrassed about it, but to embrace it. And our job is to help our customers from a consulting point of view, and IT leaders is their job is to help their business. So that's and let society work out how that's going to work. So I think that's my view on it. Maybe I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's pragmatic.
It's inevitable change. It's inevitable. So you might as well be on the winning side of that change. But obviously you've got to be empathetic to the change itself.
True.
And it does have impact on people. That
it will. It will. So I think trying to find ways to redeploy people or upskill people so that I think obviously there's a lot of opportunity there. Okay. Did you have any more news, Tom?
Right, one more. I'm just going to talk about ChatGPT. I think one interesting development came out, was it last week or the week before, new releases in June, was that they're really leaning into the MCP protocol. And that means it's really interesting. So Claude's already doing this, but with ChatGPT, OpenAI doing it means that it's pretty consistent protocol. So you can kind of bank on it now. But it means you can now open up your real-time data to talk to these things, which is super cool. So you can create real-time tools that talk to ChatGPT or Claude and get some really interesting information. So you can unlock your real-time data. You can already unlock your IP within the sort of RAG models already, but yeah, it's really interesting what this sort of opens up, and then opens up a whole world of agentic world. And I know that's already available in the Microsoft space, right, in the Copilot space, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
announced
so
it at Build and Build that you also A to A, which I think is the Google or the Meta protocol, the agent to agent protocol. So yeah, that's just it's just advancing. So I think it's just helping people know where to start and finding the right use cases.
that is exactly what I've been talking to people about. There's so
Yeah,
many people going, I'm hearing it, how do I start? That is a great
yeah,
conversation
yeah,
starter, actually. It's really interesting.
yeah, yeah,
We can talk
yeah.
about that in
Fantastic.
another podcast, Josh.
Yeah, we can, and we shall, and we have already. But today we decided to give the listeners a break from AI, and we're going to talk about some more fundamental things. All right, so before we get Andrew in, or Andrew can respond to this. So Broadcom, I will say Broadcom paid for this study, and they engaged a firm called Illuminous to do a survey across 1,800 senior IT leaders, who said that 53% say private cloud is their top priority for deploying new workloads over the next 3 years, and 84% use private cloud for both traditional enterprise apps and modern cloud-native workloads. What else? 69% are considering workload repatriation from public to private cloud, with a third already having done so. Gen AI is driving private cloud adoption for security concerns, and they like the cost predictability and cost optimization. So I think that's a we have to say that is a Broadcom funded self-serving survey, but it does reflect a bit what we're seeing. So Andrew, do you want to? Why don't we start with what are you seeing as we talk to a lot of customers. What are you seeing as a sort of current state of private cloud? What do you think? What's going on out there at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of customers that have a reasonable footprint of private cloud still, and then it seems to be largely a split. You have customers that have stayed largely private, and then you have customers that have moved almost in their entirety into full public cloud. And I think it's on both sides. There probably needs to be some movement. I think we've reached a point where the obvious way forward is hybrid. It's best workload for the right environment. So yeah, we're seeing customers that have fully gone public cloud that are starting to see those the cost drivers pushing them more towards considering repatriating workloads into private cloud and going that full hybrid cloud. And we're seeing customers that are still fully private cloud going, well, we need to start incorporating some cloud. So I think that's where the future is at for most customers. It's that blend of the two.
What's the pattern, Andrew, between what you're seeing works well private, what you see works well in a cloud space?
We see a lot of, if you've got a lot of sort of legacy applications, static workloads, those sort of things don't, and they're not cost effective on the public cloud. Yeah, there's a lot of overhead in cost in running those. If you've got modern architected for the cloud applications, they sit really well on public cloud, and they can scale, they can be dynamic in a way that is harder to do out of the box on pure private cloud.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and particularly looking at your traditional, if you look at your traditional VMware deployment, that was kind of just the base hypervisor and management and not much else, that is not really well suited to modern public cloud mentality of application development. I think where Broadcom is trying to take that in building a hybrid cloud solution has been adding on Kubernetes support and automation and building a more holistic solution that includes some of that automation and makes it an easier platform to build modern applications on.
Yeah. So, I mean, Andrew, we won't name customer names, but we've seen some examples of the customers who have moved everything onto AWS or Azure, and the eye-watering spend on public cloud. You want to maybe talk about that? Just 300,000 or 400,000 a month.
Yeah. Customers that have a few hundred VM static workloads. They're not running modern applications. They're just Windows and static Linux servers running monolithic applications that I guess that they've had around for a while, and they've lifted and shifted them onto the cloud, and that just adds a huge amount of costs.
Yeah. So we saw a customer where 3 or 4 years was $20 million where they were currently on, and to do that on-prem was a third.
Yeah, right.
A third of that, and those work. So those situations, I think that's a reflection of what Andrew's saying, is where public cloud doesn't fit really well. But it's that modernisation, whether you're moving to SaaS or whether you're moving to low-code applications, which is really good. So it's not necessarily IaaS. It's the platform services. It's SaaS. It's those or you have serverless applications. Those sorts of things are where so I think that's really what we're recommending to customers is finding the right place for the workloads and going through that. So I think that's definitely what's going. So do you want to really summarise? So what's Broadcom done? All right, let's sort of talk about what have they done. Tell us, Andrew, what have Broadcom done to everybody?
Yeah, so I think Broadcom have had a realisation that the base level functionality of hypervisor has been achieved by a broad range of companies a long time ago. We're talking how long Hyper-V's been out for 10 to 15 years.
20 years.
KVM's been around for a long time now. All of these platforms provide the base level. I just want to run some virtual machines. They all provide that functionality. And a lot of companies have been using VMware for that role. But their technology has moved on a long way since that, because that's been reached, that base level was reached a long time ago, and they've been building out this whole platform. And that's around, I said, integrating, containerized workloads, integrating automation into it, integrating the self-service portals, integrating hybrid cloud visibility, so you can see and automate and integrate across both your private footprint and your public cloud footprint. Tools like the advanced NSX networking, enabling you to connect network segments across public cloud and your private cloud, giving you that workload mobility, flexibility. And I think Broadcom have come in and looked at what VMware were doing and said, this is a big solution. This is, we're competing against the costs that people are paying for and the flexibility of public cloud, but we're pricing it like a base level hypervisor, which it isn't anymore. It is that's what they're focusing on. They're going, we need to cut out that people using it as just its bare functionality, what it was doing 10 years ago, because it can do so much more than that now. And they've priced it accordingly.
Yeah. So I think
that's a key point. Priced it accordingly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really good summary and a very kind to Broadcom summary, Andrew. So I think looking at it from a customer point of view, so if you are a small client or a medium-sized client and you're running, you had 3 or 4 ESX hosts with a SAN or whatever, and you bought your VMware licensing and you were paying, 5 to 10K a year of maintenance on it. Broadcom have come in straight away and said, well, we're no longer allowing you to keep your perpetual licensing. So they've moved everyone over to subscription licensing. So that perpetual licensing agreement you had was with VMware. We have acquired VMware. We're a new company. That no longer exists. You must buy a subscription. That was the first thing. That was the first thing they did.
And what was that? What was the price differential between that? What was that? What does that actually mean for people?
It was a lot. It was depending on what they had. It was at least, if it was 10 grand, it went to 30 grand. So this is the start. That's the start.
So already you are out of pocket by 2 to 3 times more than what you said.
Correct.
For a product you were kind of pretty happy with, actually. It was just doing its job.
Very happy with it, and VMware was and is the market leading product, and has been for everyone. Loved VMware, and go on, Tom. No, you go.
And over the years they've been releasing a whole bunch of products that probably aren't that relevant to the mid-sized organisation. So the mid-sized guy's going, "That's awesome, great. I don't want that. I've got my own thing here. Thank you." But this is the change. They've said as you were saying, Andrew, they said, "Well, hang on, you've got all this stuff, and we should pay for it." It's like, I'm not using it. It's like, that's your fault.
That's what's really hurt those smaller customers. It's like, there's no longer an entry-level product. It's Broadcom.
Well, that's the next thing they've done, Andrew, is they've cut the portfolio now to about to be one product. So there's no cheaper versions of the product. It is now only VMware Cloud Foundation. Yeah. So, and look, and let's be honest, customers were underpaying for what VMware was doing. It was too cheap for what it was, and VMware themselves were not going to make that change. So the next thing they did is they cut a whole bunch of licensing SKUs. So there was only 2 or 3. We're going back about a year now. There was only 2 or 3 SKUs, and then now it's about to go to 1 SKU.
They've narrowed their product selection, so you don't have much of a choice.
And the other thing they did is there's a 72 core minimum.
Great. So I can't downsize it or right size it to my space. I've just got to buy this giant thing. Even if my environment's that, I've got to buy something that's big. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And the other thing they had is customers who were sort of had hyperconverged the vSAN, the VMware vSAN solution. They really, the cost to run that, they made it, it was, or if you had a big vSAN environment, they killed not-for-profit pricing. So no more not-for-profit price. So if you were the worst customers affected with a not-for-profit government, because that doesn't exist.
No
anymore.
Discount.
No,
great.
No, there shall be no discounting.
Oh dear.
So they've really been
squeezed the customer, haven't they? They've squeezed them.
And they've squeezed the partners. They're about to cut the lowest level of partner. They've really gone above and beyond to to really be the least friendly acquisition I have ever seen in my 25 year IT career. I have never ever seen anyone be this nasty to everybody. Everybody. So, that's the commercial view.
Yes.
And there's a technical view, and which you have Andrew and obviously Tom, the customer view. So I think if you're a customer, you're probably annoyed and or pissed off. Excuse my French. Looking for options. You've got your tech guys that are really happy with VMware. There's a whole ecosystem around VMware of backup tools, management tools. So what we've brought to Andrew today is, Andrew, tell us what are the, if you're this customer, and what are the options? What's out there? How do they compare? Why don't we start sort of talking through that, and then maybe leading towards what fits where in this big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. So I think that's the key takeaway, the Broadcom messaging, that they're not for everybody anymore, and they're really not interested in the small and medium businesses anymore. So what do you do if you're in that position? What are the alternatives? Proxmox has become quite popular. It's gaining a lot of noise on the internet about it as, I think, potentially the leading KVM-based solution.
Know what is it? What is it?
So Proxmox is a European-based company building a Linux KVM-based solution. So it's the open source KVM hypervisor technology that's been around for a long time and is in quite a number of products, and they've built a portfolio around that with hypervisor services and backup services, cluster management, and a growing tool set to cover kind of more that base level of we just need to run some virtual machines.
And how much cheaper is that compared to?
Substantially.
Right.
Really significantly cheaper.
Right. And that's just like a base level option.
Yeah.
If you're just using base level functionality.
If you're a small business and you just need to run some virtual machines, you want a level of high availability and data protection, maybe you want to utilize some of their backup services, then you can build a small cluster based around that, and you're not paying tens of thousands of dollars a year for licensing you are.
What is it about? It's about $1,000 a host a year and you're getting enterprise support. So you're getting you're getting updates, you're getting support from a reputable company. Veeam have announced support for Proxmox, so you can continue to use your existing backup software, and you can do hyperconverge with Ceph, right? Andrew, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So the Ceph open source storage solution is built into it and is fully supported within it. You tick a few buttons within the interface, and it enables hyperconverged infrastructure, giving you a vSAN-like solution. It's a compelling solution, and there are different levels of licensing depending on what level of support you need for it.
Right.
So who would that be good for?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. Yeah, you go.
No, I was going to ask the same thing. Same question, man.
Yeah, as I said, if you're a smaller business, you've just got anything from sort of a handful of VMs up to 50 to 100 VMs that you want to run, and you don't have advanced needs. You don't need the full hybrid cloud stack. You don't need advanced networking, although there is actually quite a decent amount of advanced networking available in Proxmox. And you're willing to make a change to your environment, then I think Proxmox
and is the migration
solution.
path painful, Andrew? Is it pretty much a little known? It's a well-known thing.
It's a pretty well-known path. So Proxmox, one of the first things that Proxmox did when they saw everything kind of blowing up in the VMware world was really build out their VMware import tool side of it. So it has nice import tool built into it. You connect it to your existing ESX and you can just import the VMs.
Yeah, great. So
Andrew,
go, Tom. You go. Sorry, man, I'm talking too much. Smallish environment, 20 servers. Are we talking like a 2 to 3 week exercise to get onto this new world, or?
Yeah.
Right.
It depends a little bit on whether you're trying to in-place upgrade on your existing hardware, if you've got new hardware. But
it's all that.
But
rubbish.
it's a pretty straightforward process. It's not an online process. You do have to organize outages to shut things down to import them, because there's a conversion that has to take place.
Yeah.
Like any change from one hypervisor to another.
But it's a viable option by the sounds of it. There's I've got this giant bill here. I actually now have something I can do about it.
That's it. And if you've got, as Josh mentioned, there's Veeam integration, and there's a growing list of other enterprise software that's integrating and providing official support for Proxmox. So if you've got a Veeam backup environment, you can add in some Proxmox and start backing it up in your existing Veeam environment.
Very good.
Which, again, simplifies that migration.
So, Andrew, why would you do Proxmox instead of Hyper-V?
Yeah, good question.
So I think Hyper-V has been around for a long time, as we've mentioned, but it's a little bit difficult, I think, to find a good middle ground place from a management perspective with it. At one end of it, you have the basic Hyper-V manager tools, which are very low end. I just want a few VMs on one host.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's really nothing until you either go a few options. You can either go, I've got a really serious IT team that's going to write a bunch of custom PowerShell and is going to be all over that.
Right.
That's really not viable for most small businesses. They don't have the sort of in-house personnel that can manage and maintain that. There's Microsoft's System Center Virtual Machine Manager product, which has become quite a lot more expensive over the years in its newest iteration, like everybody else doing per core licensing. And it too is a bit of a beast of a product that is not intuitive for smaller businesses to manage. And the final option is the Azure Local version of it, which is still using the underlying Hyper-V technology for the hypervisor, but then integrates and connects to Azure for the management side of it, which sounds good, but has, again, some fairly serious licensing implications.
There's some gotchas there.
So
yeah, right. Okay.
That's the thing. There's nothing really wrong with Hyper-V as a technology. It's just the management side of it. You're either stuck between very low end or really expensive or high end requirements to manage.
Yes.
And that's where I think Proxmox wins out, that it has quite a nice web-based graphical user interface. If you've got a cluster, like a single cluster in particular, where you can see it all through one interface, you can see the whole cluster, you can manage it. It's pretty easy for, an average small to medium business IT guy, systems guy to look at and manage and go, yep, I can see what's happening here. I can see my whole cluster. I can click a few buttons, apply updates, all of those things that are said either just overly simplified on Hyper-V and to the point that you really can't do a lot of that, or require a much more difficult to use setup.
Yeah. Okay. So so I think small business, you're saying something like a Proxmox is really a good place to go from a cost management point of view. So good. Now let's go up to the next, to the mid-size, and potentially where, more and more people are looking at hyper-converged technology. So, the one we've done a lot of over the years was VMware vSAN. There's, Nutanix out there. There's, as you said, the Microsoft Azure Local. It used to be called Azure Stack, which is managed out of Azure, but it has, you've got your on-prem, and that's sort of an attractive proposition, a seemingly attractive proposition. So let's look at that next. And we've got, this is where most of our customers sit, where they might have, 80 plus VMs up to 200 or 300, that mid-size where they've got advanced disaster recovery needs. And then, we're looking at generally what we see is VMware vSAN, Nutanix, and Azure Local is the main option. So do you want to maybe sort of talk about that and what you feel fits where, and, and advantages and disadvantages thereof?
Yeah. Look, I think that mid-size is where really there's the most hurt, because on the small end, it's pretty easy to go to Proxmox. It's a much cheaper product, and they're not missing really any functionality there. The mid-size, I think, is where people were relying a little bit more on some of the features of VMware. It's a bit harder to make a step to something else if you're going to Proxmox and you've got a couple of hundred VMs, maybe you've got a couple of sites. Suddenly, the management of multiple clusters is not as good in Proxmox compared to vCenter, that you could have multiple clusters spread across multiple sites, all managed from a single pane of glass. And there are also the sites where, like I said, Hyper-V on its own, not going to work. You're going to need SCVMM on there as a minimum. So you're going to need to invest some skills into that, and said the more recent cost increases of that, or go the Azure Local route. So you're kind of left with, really, there isn't a good middle ground product. You really have to evaluate, which of the upper tier products is going to fit us best, because basically you're going to be sticking with VMware and Broadcom, or you're going to be moving to probably Azure Local or Nutanix. And it's, for all three of those, it's not a massive price difference. There will be some difference there, but they're all in the same ballpark. So whatever way you move there, you're going to be paying more than you used to be able to pay under the old VMware licensing for a sort of a mid-range product.
Okay.
So are you saying that Broadcom have looked at the market and charging the most they can to maintain their customers? Is that what you're saying, Andrew?
I mean, it would be a smart business move.
Yeah, well, looking at the refer to previous financial results.
Might not make very many friends, but
no.
They don't care. They don't care about friends, mate. They're not
here to make friends. No.
Shareholders. So what, like, theoretically though, are you saying that you should consider getting off Broadcom because of and these changes aren't going to go away, right? They're only going to continue to extract more money. So therefore,
Yeah.
even if, look, it's okay now, we're getting by, we should have a longer term plan to start removing ourselves from this platform.
Look, I think it depends how close to the edge of the current, minimum footprint you are from a Broadcom perspective.
Yep.
I mean, so Broadcom are there to make money, right? They're not going to completely alienate all of their customers. They've clearly chosen the market segment that they want to go after, and they've alienated everybody else. They're not going to alienate their remaining market segment. So if you fit within that, if you're big enough to fit within that, and you have those needs of the hybrid environment, and you can actually make business use of all the functionality, Broadcom is still the leading solution.
So this is what I heard.
The VMware platform still, from a technical perspective, is the leader.
So the company has reportedly focused development on the needs of its top 600 enterprise clients. So great. If you're in that need, if you're in that world, great. But if you are not, and if you're not by a fair way, then you're going to get stuff you don't want, basically, and then be asked to pay for it.
Correct.
That's already happening to you, or it's going to happen in the future.
Yeah. It's pretty much already happening. Yeah.
But Microsoft are a commercial entity as well, Tom. Let's not.
Their focus is a bit broader, isn't it? So what about support? I think was the other thing that popped up in the stuff I was reading. Has support dropped off at all for this world, or are you seeing that the VMware support is still there? Is it high quality? Deep sigh.
Yeah, look, I try and minimize the amount of interaction I have with VMware support. There's probably a reason for that, but it hasn't been amazing for
never
longer.
Been amazing.
No, you have to go back more years than just this more recent Broadcom stuff before you find really good VMware support.
Yeah.
It used to be right up there. It's been pretty run of the mill.
I think
you get good operators, you get bad support operators. It's
Yeah, of course. So I think what you're saying though is, look, you might be okay now, but you should think about your options. And because migrating a mid-sized organisation is not an easy process. It's a time-consuming, and it's going to cost you money to change horses, right? That's what's going to happen.
It is, absolutely.
And the other issue is, Tom, is that commercially, and I'll let Andrew cover the technical bit. I cover the commercial aspect. So if you're looking at a Nutanix solution, it is currently, and someone from Nutanix will contact me, but from doing actual quotes recently, the Nutanix is the quotes I've seen similar or more than Broadcom. Okay, so you'd be looking at changing a platform and using their native hypervisor, and it's currently in the quotes I've seen more than Broadcom. So that makes Nutanix. And I've told them, I said to them, guys, you need to come down to the mid market, because why would you move?
Huge opportunity.
Even if you're annoyed with VMware, it's currently to pay more to go to something else. Like, that's not that attractive. So that's A. And B, the Azure Local, the Azure Stack, currently the way they size their do their storage is, I think if you have more than 2 nodes, you need to do a 3-to-1 storage resiliency. So it means you need almost twice the amount of disks that you would need for either a Nutanix or VMware solution. So you're paying more in the hardware, plus you have to buy data center with software assurance to license it, which is also not that much cheaper than Broadcom VMware Cloud Foundation. So all the other option is you go to the public cloud, which, again, refer to previous point, if all you're doing is running VMs, it's going to cost more.
I'd say there's another option, and it's a longer term option, and it's about architecting your stack. Isn't it? It's about actually starting to modernize your stack, so you're not relying on the old client server style technology. Is that cheap and easy? No, that is not cheap and easy. That is possibly more pain, frankly, depending on the size of the app. So
and likely more cost in the end as well.
Could well be more cost, but ultimately you might have to just change. You might have to re-engineer your apps so you're not reliant on old school databases and old school server apps, right? Anyway, there's no easy options there, but at least you've got some genuine I guess what sticks. They're not carrots. You got some sticks to drive your business cases, I guess, when you're talking to the CFO.
Yeah. So I think so, Andrew. I think that's the issue that we're finding is so if customers in that mid-size they want that hyper-converged, and then they can actually generally start using a lot of the automation tools that that are in VMware Cloud Foundation, and that can start using some of the hybrid cloud stuff, and and they want to use some of the container workloads and the GPU automation. Like it is a good. So the risk is Broadcom going to get more and more unfriendly as time goes on? Well, probably, we don't know. But if you're looking at it now or in the next 12 to 18 months, and you're in that space, then you'd have to be really annoyed to move off, because you're paying more.
Your options are worse.
You're currently paying more.
Ouch.
and that's the issue. That's the issue that we're seeing. Andrew, do you want to make any comments on that from a technical as well as commercial point of view?
Yeah. I mean, I think, as we've mentioned, the VMware Broadcom solution is still technically the leading solution. It has the most...
It's good tech.
It is good tech. It is good tech. It has the most integration with other software, the most support from other software. It has... as said, if you look at the full VCF platform and you need that functionality, you've got container support, you've got automation support, you've got zero trust networking support. There's a lot built into it. And I think it more comprehensively ticks the boxes than anything else out there. Nutanix is probably the second enterprise virtualization solution. They've got a pretty good solution. They cover most of the boxes that VCF can do. Maybe not quite to the same level, but pretty close. They give VMware a reasonable run for their money, but it's not a cost saving. So if you like the solution and you want to move away from Broadcom, then that's a good solution. And then there's...
what about HPE VM Essentials? Their new...
Yeah, well, I was going to say, there's a bunch of other solutions out there that we don't see, particularly in Australia, we don't see as much. So, HP have got VM Essentials, which is a new product that they've come out with. It's another KVM-based solution they're building through an acquisition. There's Platform 9, there's Red Hat. I've got their
OpenShift, right?
OpenShift solution, which is kind of container-based with traditional virtualization, virtual machines tacked on top of that. There's Zen Server and XCP-NG out there that are the Citrix Zen solution, and are much more popular if you're running a huge Citrix farm. But again, we don't see much of those solutions in the Australian market, at least.
Well, I'm interested in the HPE one, because HPE are a genuine enterprise. Like, where is it? I mean, I know it's new, but I mean, where's that at? And what are your thoughts on that at the moment?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's interesting. It's a fairly limited supported architecture for it at the moment. It's really only supported on server SAN solution using specific HP server and SAN components. So it's really only suitable if you're going out to buy a new stack. At the moment, you can't retrofit it really on unless you just happen to have quite new HP server and SAN solutions already that line up with the supported options for it. And it doesn't really have much third-party support at this stage. Now, it does have enough built in. It's got its own backup and snapshot and all of that built into it. But yeah, it's not going to integrate with Veeam at the moment. It's not going to integrate. There's not really any other enterprise vendors that have announced support for it at this stage. But I think it's definitely a one to watch. Watch this space. They're talking about expanding it to include their SimpliVity hyperconverged solution sometime soon this year, and then continuing to expand out from there, and potentially at some point even growing to a point where it supports non-HP hardware. I'm sure that's not high on their to-do list, but they have mentioned that maybe in the future.
Okay, so you locked into the HP environment there.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's got the HP name and support behind it.
For sure.
And as HP themselves have said, they're a pretty slow organization. They like to do things methodically, which is why they're not rushing it. So when they release features for it and release supported configurations, they're kind of making sure they've got all the pieces of the puzzle behind it in their support infrastructure to actually support it properly. So, no, I think I can see why that can work for enterprises.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've only got 3 or 4 customers in Australia at the moment, so maybe it's a 12-month away watch. So
I think so, yeah, 12 to 18 months, and it could be a really viable solution as it grows. But I think if you're a smaller customer at the moment and you're looking for a KVM solution, it's probably Proxmox would be the one that I'd suggest. And yeah, if you're in that middle market, it's, do you stick with Broadcom? Do you move to Nutanix because you like what it's doing and you like the company and you want to move away from Broadcom? Do you go all in on Microsoft?
Yeah. Well, I think that's good. We're unfortunately out of time. So Andrew, that was a really good conversation. Appreciate you joining, and customers or people listening out there, if you want to have a chat with us about it, you can reach out to Andrew Petrie, Petrie, on LinkedIn, or you can contact me on LinkedIn, or jrubens at empyreanit.com.au, or apetrie at empyreanit.com.au if you want to reach out, or if you want to get in touch with Tom. You can get hold of him on LinkedIn, and he's doing some exciting stuff. So maybe next podcast, Tom, we can have a chat about what you're doing at the moment. But yeah, thank you everyone out there for listening. Really appreciate your time. If you like us, please give us a 5-star rating. If you don't give us a rating at all. No, but thanks everyone for listening. Thanks again, Andrew, for joining us, and thank you, Tom, as always.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye-bye.